one of the big challenges that I had when I was writing Play All Night for myself at first, and then of course for the marketplace when I got a publisher, was finding an angle, what we would say in the history profession, an argument for the book, something new, something that hasn't been stated before. And I remember, that's a constant for any author, any person who's looking to do something in the world, put something out into the world. You want it to be new. You find it unique to yourself. And mine was, was a little bit of a challenge because I love the Allman Brothers Band. I love Duane Allman. I love the music that they made. I love the spirit in which they play it. I love, at that point, the 30-year career when I jumped on I guess they were 20-something years in when I jumped on the bus. But, all of it and each layer I delved into outside of a couple albums in the early 1980s, at least just one album, I guess two. But anyway, I digress. I just loved it. I loved the lessons. I loved the things I was learning. And, you can't write a book that says that. I suppose you can't. Bob Beatty couldn't, for a variety of reasons. And one is I just wanted to try to do it maybe a little bit more formally through academic channels, frankly. That's what it ended up being. Super long story, not much shorter, and a lead into what I'm trying to do here with this video is simply, here's what I came up with. And this is a central argument of the book, and it came out of discussions with a really, really, really dear friend named Spencer. I've got him thanked in the acknowledgments. But essentially, the argument was, at Fillmore East, the album, the 7-song album, not all the releases, not everything else attached to it, blah, blah, blah. The 7-song album that was the massive hit is the fulfillment of Duane Allman's artistic vision. That was basically what my argument was. And backing up, how does that demonstrate that? And what I did was quoted, and you can read it in the book, quoted extensively from the band saying the things that they wanted to accomplish in music. Everything from improvisation, virtuosity, excitement, and how important the audience was to that equation, to that band, the entire time. They formed to play live in front of people. Duane flat out said it when he was that's why he left Muscle Shoals. It was something like, I wanted to get into the live thing, man, or something like that. I'll botch the quote. Pretty sure it's in Play All Night, though. All to say, we fans were vital and important to the founding ethos of the Allman Brothers Band, Duane's founding ethos, and his bandmates. They all were part of it, that stuck around for that entire 45-year existence, minus a few hiccups and some separations, divorces, etc. We were always vital to that equation. And the success of At Fillmore East helped demonstrates that audience importance, because of course, if audiences, particularly in that era, bands make their living on the road these days, but back in the day, selling records, getting on the radio and selling records was the way that you made money. Touring was a grind, and the reason you toured was to sell records, not the other way around. You sold records because you toured, which is kind of, I guess, what happens now. I genuinely don't understand truly the economics of it, but today, however, At Fillmore East made that connection by its success in the marketplace. The third piece to this, or I don't know, another piece to this, I don't know how many pieces I've quoted today, but is what then do audiences say about the record? So it's not just that they bought the record, but for me to have composed a book and put it together was sort of, what did the audience say? And so, that's where the rubber meets the road for me, is because you've got reviews of At Fillmore East, that's what I used, in college newspapers all across the country. So yes, it was reviewed in Rolling Stone, which was a very important publication in 1971, but not what it it is or became later. I think there was a review in Cream or something. The major rock publications certainly covered it, but the college newspapers is where the audience was the young set, and they freaking loved the record. And what they loved about the record was exactly what Duane and the boys were saying that they wanted to accomplish from their music. They felt good listening to the music. That's the gist of the success of At Fillmore East and why it's such an important record. More than just like the greatest live album ever made. Yes. I mean, although, they treated that live album, and I say this repeatedly on my YouTube channel, all this video I've been going through and posting like a madman just to sort of get used to this dynamic with us. But they, A Love Supreme was recorded live as well. It just was recorded live in the studio. Kind of Blue was recorded live as well. It was recorded live in the studio for the Allman Brothers band. For that band, the studio they didn't want to do that. They had tried that. They had played live and recorded live in the studio. They wanted to play in front of an audience and receive that back. And that's exactly what worked. It's like this real great symbiosis. Duane's career, when he founds the Allman Brothers band, the trajectory of it is a good symbiosis. Everything falls off the cliff after 1971. I mean, after Duane's death, and then Barry's death the next year, and then of course they're the most stratospheric, biggest band in the world, or certainly in the country, in 73, 74. But in this founding era, how do we know if Duane was successful in achieving his artistic vision that he stated? And we know it because of the success of At Fillmore East. And then in Play All Night, I sort of spell and weave this tale a little bit together. Anyway, I say all that as lead into this video, which I posted a couple days ago on TikTok, and it got like no views. So I said, shit, I'll post it again. It got even less views. And this sort of sums it up, this video. If I can tack this together, I don't know. Probably not. But if I can tack this together a little bit on that, if you know the album At Fillmore East at around 16, 18 on the versions I've been listening to since writing the book, that famous call out, Play All Night. And I got a little talk about that. I'm proud that the book title is that, even though, true story, You Don't Love Me is probably my least favorite track on At Fillmore East, but that's like saying, what's your seventh favorite cookie? It's still your seventh favorite cookie. So, and frankly, because it's been that, I'm like growing to just dig it, I'm digging in on it, and I'm really digging in on the versions that are on the 1971 Fillmore East recordings they released about a decade ago, because You Don't Love Me on Fillmore East is two different versions. It's the first half and the second half are two different nights, two different shows patched together. One of only two edits on that whole album. All right, so I'm gonna put that on there. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't, fuck it. Who cares? Long live the Allman Brothers Band.
Now the final one is the audience, and because honestly, without us, what is all this for except a couple people playing music together? I'm really proud of the book. It wasn't my first my title, but Play All Night is actually from At Fillmore East. If you know it, it's at about 16 minutes and 18 seconds, and it is the second major decrescendo part in the song. Everything drops out. It's Duane Allman playing his guitar, and a couple thousand people in New York City are dead quiet. You can hear the rustling, but they're listening really intently, and that's a great part of the album. If you listen to the quiet parts, those people are they're intently listening. They're probably stoned out of their minds, and that's okay, but they are intently listening. But this guy just goes, "You guys know." I've probably met at least 5 people who claim to be that person in my life.